alternative quote operator. So that is what we want to do. So what this alternative quote operator does is that, so if I say select start from department, look at it. This is the department table. So department ID, department name, manager ID, location ID. So administration, marketing. So if I want to write a sentence like this, marketing department manager is 200. Then I want this to be one column. So what it's going to do is that it's going to do administration department manager ID is 200. Marketing department manager ID is 201. Purchasing department ID's manager ID is 114. I want a column that will bring out statement like that. Look at what I have written. Marketing department manager ID, okay, yeah, it's 201. It's 201. But I want this statement like this, as I've written it, to come like that for all the departments. And you have how many departments? Let's see. You have 27 departments. Can you see 27 departments? So am I going to sit down and be writing them one by one? Marketing department's manager is 201. Purchasing, that is cumbersome for me to be writing on Excel. So I want to write a query that will do everything for me at once. Because of this single quote that is here, which is is apostrophe in English, right? Because of that, I will need another type of operator to be able to allow me input this single quote, this apostrophe S, into the department like this, so that it will come out like this. It will bring out this one. This marketing is under a column. This manager ID, this one, is under another column. So this data will come out from the database. This data will come out from the database. But this data, this one, is a string literal that I'm going to attach, that I'm going to introduce. It's not anywhere in the database. This one is in the database. It will come out from the database. This one will come out from the database. But this one is not in the database. I'm the one that is going to introduce it. So I have to write a query that will do that work for me. So I will need a tool from the SQL language that can enable me add this apostrophe S, which is a single quote. I will need a tool to enable me do that. That tool is called alternative quote operator. So just like you have the plus, the minus, the multiplication, there is another type of operator that will allow me insert this guy. That operator, alternative quote operator, specify your own quotation mark delimiter. What is a delimiter? I will still explain to you. Select any delimiter. I will explain what that means. Increases readability and usability. Many SQL statements use character literals in expressions or conditions. Now, all the explanation that I've given you is what they are just summarizing here. Many SQL statements use character literals in expressions or conditions. If the literal itself contains a single quotation mark, are you seeing that? If the literal itself contains a single quotation mark, you can use the quote Q operator and select your own quotation mark delimiter. I will explain what it means. You can choose any convenient delimiter such as these character pairs. Now, I'm still going to explain, or let me just throw it in, what a delimiter is. That is the next one. This is it. What is a delimiter? Delimiters. In SQL, structural query language, that's the full meaning of SQL, structured query language. Structured query language. A delimiter is a character or a sequence of characters used to separate or terminate statements or clauses within SQL query. Delimiters are essential for proper execution of SQL statements by the database management system. They help the DBMS understand where one statement or clause ends and the next one begins. Commonly used delimiters in SQL include semicolon. You can see we have used semicolon several times to terminate our query, right? So in English language, delimiters are simply characters that you use or symbols that you use to show where should we stop, how should we continue reading this thing. Because where you have comma and where you have full stop, you don't read them the same way. Here you say in SQL, structured query language, comma, a delimiter is a character or a sequence of characters used to separate or terminate statements or clauses within a SQL query, full stop. So at that point, you know you have to pause. Then you know that the next letter that will come is capital letter, right? Those are rules in English language. That same kind of rule apply to this language too, to this SQL, because it is a language. So you borrow things from other languages. So the same way you look at the, the symbols that you use to terminate your sentences in English, that is the same way this SQL language has its own. And they are called delimiters. What will enable this one to come in and also enable this single quote to come in is this delimiter. So which means if I'm going to write, I'm going to bring in this inside my query. But this place that I wrote string, this place that I wrote string, that is where I'm going to introduce this. I'll bring this, all this like this, like this. I'm going to copy them and put inside this. I'll put it inside this place. So if I copy that, I will remove this one. So I will replace it with that. You see, I'll replace it like that. So this single quote, this Q has enabled me choose this parenthesis, this bracket and this bracket, has enabled me choose this bracket and this bracket as a delimiter. So the DBMS knows that anything inside this bracket is a string. That means it knows that it's supposed to add this string to every row that is returned. So now I want to write, like I told you, I want to bring out a column. A column that will give me department name, that will write all these things like this for me for each of the rows, 27 rows. But each of those 27 rows will be having marketing department manager ID is 201, administration department manager ID is 200, purchasing department manager ID is 114. I want a column that will give me that. So I'm going to write that in my query. So how do I write it? Let me write it for you to see. So I'll say select. Are you seeing my screen? Okay, select. Now I'll pick the first column because this column, sorry, this column, department name, is what will be giving me this first one. So I'll say select department underscore name, right? Which is this column. Then what will I do next? I'm going to bring in another tool too, because I want a tool that is going to join this column to this string literals that I have. So I will say select department name. Then I will put what? My concatenate. Then I will put the single quote. I'll put space. Now I'm going to type this one, this department. I'm going to type it, department. I can write it differently, but this is how I want to write it, department. Then I'll put I will not put space. I will not put space. I will not put space. All I will do is I'll put this single quote, then I'll say concatenate, right? Then I'm going to introduce this thing. I'm going to introduce it, but I'm going to replace this string with this writing inside, which is like this one. So I'm going to say Q. So I'm introducing an operator. Now this is the operator. Q with single quote. The Oracle DBMS we will know that after the concatenate is seeing that alternative quote operator. So the next thing I'm going to use now, you will consider that thing as a limiter, a delimiter. So I'm going to use this comma as the delimiter. So the Oracle DBMS now knows that Oracle now knows that anything is going to see inside this bracket is a string. So I will put this S, which is this one that you are seeing, S, then space manager. I will type it, space ID is, then I'll put that my colon. I will now close the bracket. Then I will put this sign outside like this. So Oracle developer knows that he's going to take this one is a string literal. It means that every row that is returned is going to insert it. Every row that is returned is going to insert this inside. So he will go to department name. Once he goes to department name, the first row will be released. When he's bringing it, he's going to insert this into it. Are you with me? So I'm going to concatenate again. Concatenate. Then the last thing, manager ID, which is this one. Manager, I'll give it a space. Manager underscore ID. So I have said select department name. You will go to the employee table. Now I've not even written, sorry, not employee. That is department table from, so I'll put from department. This time around, we are not using employees table. So I will terminate it. When I run this, I want to bring this. When I run this, okay, since you can see it up here. When I run this one, that is what gave me this. So when I run this one, did you see what it did? Can you see it? Administration department manager ID is 200. Marketing department manager ID is 201. Purchasing department IDs manager is 114. Okay, but look at the name of the column. It's too long. I don't want this name because it's using everything that is here as the column name. I don't want that to be the column name. So I am going to put an alias. Return this as department and manager. Now, it will give me an error if I don't put double quote. So I will cover here. I will cover here with double quote. I want to copy the whole of this script. You can see how they usually write program. You write program by just taking from people and just adding something to your own. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this script. I'll copy everything and I'll paste it here. Now in this one, I'm going to remove this, right? And then I'll run this one. When I run this one, see, he gave me this, right? When I run this one, it's going to change this name. Can you see that? I changed the name by using alias, department and manager. But I use the keyword as. If I don't want to put this keyword as, I can remove it. It will still allow my program to run. If I remove this and I run it again, it will still run, you see? But just to make it look nice when you are reading it, that is why the as was introduced. So I am saying this, when you are returning it to me, name it as department and manager. That is simply what it means. Name it as department and manager. You understand? Okay. So now I want to do something. You can see that this is one row. This is the whole row. One column. One column. I want to add two columns, extra two columns, so that you will see. So I'm going to come here, add two columns. I'm going to add department name. Department underscore name, comma. So I have two columns now. So I'm going to add manager ID. Manager underscore ID, comma. So how many columns do I have now? What will I have if I run this script, this query? How many? Good. I'm going to have three columns. So I'm going to have department name, which will show. I will have manager ID, which will show. Then I will have this column. I will have this column. So just see it. Can you see that? I have department name, manager ID, and department manager, which is the whole of this that I wrote using the tools that I know already. And what are they? Concatenation operator. I use alternative quote operator. I use delimiters, which are the brackets. I use alias, and I also use the ask keyword. In fact, more than three. So now, because of this queue, this alternative code, I can change this my delimiter. That's what I'm saying. I can change it. That's what that thing is telling you. I can use this one, this symbol. I can use this symbol. I can use this one. I can use any other thing that I want, provided I will have them as double. Let me show you what I mean by that. Instead of these brackets, are you seeing my screen? Instead of these brackets, I'm going to use less than here, and I'm going to use on this side greater than here. So which means I am using this as the limiter, this less than and greater than. So the system still, the DBMS will still understand that everything here is a string. If I run this script, it will still be correct. You see, it still came out. Okay, let me run this one first. This is this one, right? I'm going to run this one now. It's still correct. This alternative quote is enabling me choose any delimiter that I want. That is the work of that alternative quote operator. It enables you to choose any delimiter that you want. So this delimiter is telling the DBMS that after this quote operator, this is the beginning of the string literal. So anything that is seen inside this bracket is a string literal. You must return it. You must insert it into each row that is returned.